My name is Captain Claire Hartley. I am 34 years old. I have been an intelligence analyst for 11 years. And on a Friday morning in March, I received my annual performance review. It was the best of my career. Every category rated exceptional. Language I had never seen applied to my work before. Specific commendations for 3 operations I had contributed to over the past year. A recommendation for accelerated promotion consideration. I read it twice. Then I looked at the signature at the bottom. Colonel James Whitmore. I put the document down. I picked it up again. Colonel James Whitmore had died 4 months ago. A cardiac event. Sudden. He had been found in his office on a November morning. The base had observed 3 days of mourning. I had attended the memorial service. I had stood in the rain and watched them fold the flag. His signature was at the bottom of a document dated March 14th. 4 months after his death. I sat at my desk for a long time. Then I did the thing that 11 years of intelligence work had trained me to do before anything else. I did not react. I picked up a pen. I started taking notes. Let me tell you about Whitmore first. Colonel James Whitmore had been my commanding officer for 18 months before he died. He was 58 years old, 30 years of service, the kind of officer whose institutional knowledge was so deep that when he walked into a room, the room got quieter. He had been demanding, precise. He expected excellence and communicated disappointment with a specific silence that was worse than any reprimand. He had also been fair, consistently. In 18 months, I had never seen him reward something that was not earned or penalize something that was not deserved. My last actual performance review from Whitmore had been 8 months before his death. It had been good, not exceptional, good. He had noted 3 areas for development. He had been specific about what improvement would look like. That was Whitmore. Specific, earned, never exceptional without reason. The review on my desk was exceptional across every category. It did not read like Whitmore. It read like someone who had studied Whitmore's previous reviews carefully enough to approximate his language, but had not understood that Whitmore never gave exceptional without documenting exactly why. The commendations were real. The operations referenced were real. My contributions to them had been genuine. But Whitmore had been dead for 4 months, and someone had written this review in his name. I spent the first hour doing what I do, building a picture from available information before drawing conclusions. I pulled Whitmore's previous reviews of my work from the system, 3 years of them. I placed them beside the March 14th document. The language in the March document was consistent with Whitmore's style. Whoever had written it had read his previous work carefully. But there were differences. Whitmore always dated his reviews with the full date format. Day, month, year. Always. The March 14th document used month, day, year. A small difference. The kind that only someone who had read every Whitmore document would notice. I noticed it. Whitmore referenced specific operation code names in his reviews. Always with the prefix OP followed by the designation. Always. The March 14th document referenced the same operations, but used the word operation followed by the full name. No prefix, no abbreviation. 2 formatting differences, consistent across the entire document, small enough to be invisible to someone who had read 1 or 2 Whitmore reviews, visible to someone who had read all of them. Whoever had written this had done their research. They had not done enough of it. I added these observations to my notes. Then I asked the question that mattered most. Why did someone need my performance record to look exceptional? The object at the center of everything was the review itself. Not the false signature, not the formatting errors, the recommendation at the end. Recommended for accelerated promotion consideration. Captain Hartley's analytical profile and operational contributions make her an exceptional candidate for the Specialized Intelligence Program currently accepting applications. The Specialized Intelligence Program. I read that sentence 3 times. There was one Specialized Intelligence Program currently accepting applications. I knew about it because 2 colleagues had mentioned applying. A highly classified analytical unit. Significant clearance upgrade. Significant operational access. The kind of unit that would give whoever managed it access to intelligence streams they currently could not see. I sat with that for a very long time. Someone had written me an exceptional performance review in a dead man's name. to recommend me for a program that would give me, or whoever was managing me, access to classified intelligence I did not currently have access to. This was not about my career. This was about my clearance. I called Colonel Patricia Morrison at 0947. She answered on the second ring. I told her in 5 sentences, "Annual performance review received this morning. Signed by Colonel James Whitmore. Whitmore died 4 months ago. 2 formatting inconsistencies confirm it was not written by him. Closing recommendation directs me toward a specific classified program." Morrison was quiet for 7 seconds. Then she said, "Do not submit any application to any program. Do not acknowledge receipt of the review to anyone. Do not discuss it with colleagues." I said, "Understood." She said, "The formatting inconsistencies? You documented them?" I said, "I have 4 pages of notes. Comparison against 3 years of Whitmore's actual reviews." She said, "Send nothing digitally. I am sending someone to you within 2 hours." She said, "Claire, the program referenced in the recommendation." I said, "Yes." She said, "I know that program. It is not what the application materials presented as." I said, "What is it?" She said, "That is what we are going to discuss in 2 hours." She hung up. I looked at the review on my desk, the best of my career, signed by a dead man, for a program that was not what it appeared to be. I added that to my notes. Then I made tea. Because 11 years of intelligence work has also taught me that some situations require tea before they require anything else. I want to pause here, because understanding that a performance review was a recruitment tool for something I did not yet understand is the moment this story became about something much larger than my career. If you have ever realized that something meant to honor you was actually designed to use you, drop a comment below. And subscribe right now. Because what Morrison told me about the program and what we found when we looked at who else had received exceptional reviews in dead officers' names is the part that changes everything. Morrison's person arrived at 1134. Her name was Dr. Ana Reyes, civilian investigator, EG office. She carried a leather notebook and asked questions the way a surgeon operates. Precise, targeted, no wasted movement. She reviewed my 4 pages of notes. She reviewed the March 14th document. She reviewed Whitmore's 3 years of actual reviews. She said the formatting inconsistencies are documented clearly. This will support authentication analysis. She said, "How many people in your unit received performance reviews this month?" I said, 11 including me. She said, "I need to know how many of those reviews were signed by officers who are no longer serving." I said, "I can pull that from the system." She said, "Do it here. On your terminal, I want to watch the results." I pulled it. We looked at the results together. Of the 11 reviews issued to my unit in March, 4 of them were signed by officers who were no longer serving. 1 retired, 1 transferred, 2 deceased. 4 reviews, 4 signatures from people who could not have written them. I looked at Anna. She looked at me. She said, "Your unit is not the only one." She said, "We have been tracking anomalous performance reviews for 6 weeks. Yours is the 14th we have confirmed as fraudulent. 14 reviews, across multiple units, all exceptional, all directing the recipients toward the same specialized program." I said, "How many people applied?" She said, 9. I said, "What happened to the 9 people who applied?" She said, 7 were accepted. 2 are still in the application process. And I said, "And the 7 who were accepted?" She said, "That is the part we are still working on. The investigation took 5 months. I was brought into the outer edge of it, not the center. My role was to provide my documentation and my analysis of the formatting inconsistencies, both of which became part of the evidentiary record. What the investigation found took longer to understand than it took to document. The specialized program was real, classified, legitimate in its official existence, but it had been infiltrated, not recently, over 3 years. A small number of people within the program's oversight structure had been using it to access intelligence streams they were not supposed to access. They had been selectively recruiting analysts into the program. Analysts whose specific skill sets and clearance trajectories would give the program access to intelligence it currently lacked. The fraudulent performance reviews were the recruitment mechanism, an exceptional review in a dead officer's name, a recommendation for the program, an analyst who believed their record had earned them a significant opportunity. 7 analysts recruited this way over 3 years, none of them knowing. All of them believing their exceptional review was genuine. The 7 analysts. This is the part I think about most. They had done nothing wrong. They had received reviews that appeared legitimate. They had applied to a program that appeared legitimate. They had been accepted and had served in good faith. When the investigation was complete, all 7 were interviewed. All 7 were fully cooperative. All 7 were cleared of any wrongdoing. Their service records were corrected. The fraudulent reviews were flagged and annotated. Accurate reviews, assessed by officers who were actually alive and actually their supervisors, were substituted. For some of them, the accurate review was still exceptional. They had earned it legitimately. The false review had just gotten there first. The people responsible, 3 officers within the program's oversight structure, 1 civilian contractor who had managed the document production. The civilian contractor was the person who had created the fraudulent reviews. She had access to historical performance review formats. She had studied the writing styles of the signing officers carefully enough to approximate them convincingly. Not carefully enough. The date format, the operation prefix, 2 details, consistent across 14 documents. The civilian contractor is serving 6 years. The 3 officers received sentences between 4 and 8 years. The program itself was suspended pending a full structural review. Whether it will be reinstated, I do not know. Colonel Whitmore. I have thought about him often in the months since. He died in November, quietly, in his office, 30 years of service and then gone. He spent 30 years building a reputation for precision, for specificity, for never awarding exceptional without documenting exactly why. Someone used that reputation after his death, studied his patterns, approximated his language, signed his name to 14 documents he never wrote. They were nearly good enough. But Whitmore's precision, the same precision that had made him demanding and exacting and sometimes difficult, was also the thing that made the forgeries detectable. The date format, the operation prefix, details so specific that only someone who had read every document he ever wrote would know to look for them. I had read every document he ever wrote. That is what made the difference. The March 14th review is in the evidence archive. I do not need it. What I have instead is the accurate review that was written for me after the investigation, by my actual commanding officer, based on my actual work. It is good, not exceptional. Good. With 3 areas for development, specific about what improvement would look like. It reads like Whitmore, because that is what Whitmore taught me a good review looks like. Specific. Earned. Never exceptional without reason. I will take good over exceptional any day, if good is true. Here is what a dead man's signature taught me. Know the person whose name is on the document, not just their name, their patterns, their specific habits, the details that are too small to fake unless you have paid very close attention for a very long time. Precision is not just a professional virtue. It is a protection. Whitmore's precision protected me 11 years into a career that came after his. He never knew he was doing it, but he was. Pay attention to the details, especially the ones that seem too small to matter. They are the ones that hold when everything else gives way. Drop a comment and tell me your story. I read every single one. And subscribe. I am here every week with a new story. She noticed. She documented. She made the call. And she did not stop until it was done.